Okay, so we're here at the data center transformation event, and I'm talking to Liam, and you are, I think, on a panel debate to do with recruitment side of the industry,
correct.
which I think everyone knows there's some kind of skill shortage now, and that's before all the, shall we say, the older folks in the industry disappear off as well. So I guess your thoughts as to, I know it's not an easy situation to address, but your thoughts as to how the industry can address this growing problem, if you like.
Yeah, so I think for me, if you look at this in a holistic view, we've a couple of things. We've got some really good dynamics coming on with the youngsters coming in, but we're not looking at the proper succession planning, and I think that's a big issue because you've got old innovation not meeting new innovation. But what we're also overlooking is the older talent still available to us. For me personally, I think I was brought up on an old analogy of youth and experience always loses to it's youth and exuberance always loses out to age and experience. And for years I didn't understand it, and as I'm obviously getting a little bit older, I'm now beginning to understand it. And I think we're so focused on getting the next gen in, we're actually forgetting that there's still a whole pool of people available to us that still have a lot to offer this industry for many more years to come.
And in terms of that, Paul, are we talking just people in the industry persuading them to stay, or are there sort of, you say, adjacent industries and sectors where there's people that potentially can be repurposed and come and join us in the industry?
It's definitely adjacent industries. One of the big skills, or one of the big talking points, in recruitment many years ago when you used to apply, used to be talk about your transitionable skills, right? And we got through that phase, and that brought in some really interesting minds, and I'd probably have put myself into that bracket of coming in towards this industry. But there's the whole veteran segment. There's some great campaigns going on. There's some great voices in the industry, Mike Eitel, Tony Chills, to name but two. But what we're not looking is how to help them transition into it. I'm a systems engineer trained by the Royal Navy. I don't sell it very well, but actually if I then talk to a data centre, they're like, oh actually, yeah, you're a shoe-in because you understand the whole bigger picture. And I think that for me is something we're not talking about enough to the veterans, is pursuing, is really promoting how are your skills benefiting this industry. Use the key words that this industry uses. We've got to kind of simplify the language a little bit, but it's definitely adjacent industries that are going to fill a lot of the gaps, I think. Veterans are a big one.
And do you think also the industry perhaps, I won't say has an image problem, but do you think because the nature it does, it's almost like secretive, they don't like to talk about all the sort of stuff they do for company stuff, but they need to, therefore they don't actually then promote themselves, because it is quite, when I bump into folks and explain, they don't understand, and then they get it, because it's obviously underpins virtually every activity kind of known to us in the digital age, but the industry somehow doesn't convey, if you like, quite how exciting it can be to work in that industry, is such a critical national infrastructure as the government has decided it is.
Well, absolutely, and I think this is part of it is this whole secrecy element. I've no idea why it needs to be, because if you go into, let's take East London, where I'm originally from, you go down by the docks, and I think it's now a China Mobile data centre there, and on the side of it is China Mobile. Now everybody thinks, well, that's my mobile telephone. And it's about linking the dots, and what we're not doing, whether that's at the younger segment or those adjacent segments we spoke to, is because we're keeping it so enclosed, we're not allowing ourselves for someone to walk past and go, what did China Mobile do? China Mobile are in telecoms, they're in mobile telephones, they're in networks, they're in data centres. People then look at that and go, oh, I fancy a career in data centres, I fancy a career in telecoms, I've done this, I've done that, We've got to open it. But how many of us really do that? I only do it because I'm potentially sad, and I can admit that. Same as in the generator industry, wherever I'm on holiday, I look for a generator and my wife will be like, oh God, not again. But these are the things you want to do it, make it exciting, make it open. There's nothing to hide. The only thing that needs to be hidden is what is inside it. What is actually being passed through it. That is where we protect people's data, right? Our personal data. That's what you want to see. We need to not protect the actual industry itself, and I think that's where we get lost.
And I suppose the final question would be, if we don't get our act together, I mean, yeah, everyone talks about the existing skills crisis, but I haven't heard anyone saying, oh, we're going to have to shut data centres or not build them just yet because we haven't got enough people. Do you think we might get to that level where projects are either slowed down or even cancelled because we can't find enough skilled people, or have we still got time, if you like, if we're going to act together, that the industry will not be held back by this skill shortage?
I think we absolutely do have time. Look at the scale now of whether you want to chuck compound annual growth rate numbers of 20+% over the next 5 years, whatever that may be. We have got time, because that 5 years is not just going to end there. This is 15, 20, 30 years of continual growth. What's really interesting for me, though, is when you look at the people you want to bring in to the industry, and you're trying to promote, quite a lot of the industry benefits, we have to paint a picture for a lot of the industry, and I think that's where we're going to struggle. And if you look at the trades, carpenters, builders, everybody's got these struggles, because generations now want to be almost all in white collar jobs, right? But ultimately, how many white collar jobs are still engineers? It's just that we've moved forward, and we need to be able to promote that side of it, that just because it says engineer in the title doesn't mean you're stood like I am with a tie and a shirt, in a data centre. It's what you want it to be. But I think the big gap we can close here is it has to start on the educational front. We have to reform trade industries for the future, because right now we can't get the tradesmen in the old blue collar jobs, the white van man jobs. So if we can't fill that there, how are we going to fill that and fill the data centres for personnel going forward if they're not appealable from both white and blue collar? We've got to probably, I suppose, actually one of the great things would be, let's change that narrative of what engineers are, or what data people are.
And do you think, final promise you, because you give me time, but in the pandemic, everyone talked about the IT industry as the sort of fourth emergency service, and that was good because it raises profile, but since that occasion we seem to have lost that ability. We were on the front foot slightly and we could have used that, but we've kind of gone back into our shells. Do you think that would be good to kind of resurrect that fourth emergency service and just let people know that, if your ticket barrier doesn't work when you're trying to get the train, or your mobile phone signal's gone down, that's because a data centre somewhere potentially isn't working, and that's just how important this industry is? Yeah,
I think absolutely, and I think we've also got to teach people a bit of patience. We have to go back to being patient. We used to be a whole body of people. You get back to post-war innovation, being able to come forward. We went forward as groups of people, and I think that's where data centres potentially can win the battle. Where we are stood today, all the people here are here for one reason. That is to learn about the industry, but promote the industry, but the opportunity to be amongst their peers and network and be friendly and innovate together. That to me is a bigger question that we've got to look at.
Okay, it's been great to chat, so thanks for your time, Lynn.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.